So in this video, I want to talk about a really low maintenance way to get pollinators into your garden, following on from my low maintenance garden video that looks high maintenance. So I did a video about how you can have a actually low maintenance garden that looks like you've put tons of work into it. And I thought, following on from that, let's talk about having that same low maintenance garden that looks high maintenance, but also full of pollinators. So let's just start out by saying some general principles that encourage pollinators into the garden. And the main one is obviously going organic, because when you use any kind of pest control, it's not targeted, it's indiscriminate. So it harms obviously all the pests, all the insects in your garden. Like all pesticides, it is indiscriminate and will equally harm the beneficial insects as well as the pests. And ditto, we don't know the impact that will also have on birds when they eat those bugs. I'm pretty sure that cannot be healthy for the birds. So the next thing is to look for a long flowering period. So pollinators and bees need obviously sustenance very early on in the season. So you're looking for flowers that are going to flower as early as possible in winter, spring, right through to as late as possible in the winter. And I still had pollinators in my garden in November. I still had a couple of stray buddleia flowers and things like that. And the bees, I could still hear the bees buzzing about. And I had a big bumblebee, which I think was a queen, even in my kitchen looking for sustenance or somewhere to nest or whatever they do, hibernate in the winter. So they need a long flowering period to be able to sustain themselves and survive. The other thing you need to look for is colour. Obviously, they are attracted to the bright colours. That's why you often see the very brightest colours, such as the sweet williams, the sweet peas, and the roses and everything covered, and the purples. You see a lot of the purples, the alliums, the greater knapweed, those purpley colours are often the Verbena bonassariensis. They're always covered with bees and butterflies. They like those bluey, bright coloured flowers. And the final thing you need to think about when you want to attract pollinators into your garden is scent. They are really attracted to the scent, and one of the things that will help, if the pollinator can't see your garden yet, they can follow the scent and the aroma of all the wonderful sweetly smelling plants that you have in there. And you only need a few to attract the pollinators that can then feed off even the other plants that don't have scent. But the scent will send out signals to pollinators that don't yet know your garden exists, and then they will come. Oh, hello bee. It's trying to go. So you obviously got highly fragrant roses. You've got honeysuckle, which is a brilliant attractor of pollinators. And you've got sweet peas, of course, are a lovely scented plant that will attract pollinators. And you have also things like herbs like rosemary and oregano. The bees love those little sweet blue flowers on the herbs as well. So these are things to consider when you are wanting to attract pollinators into your garden. When you're looking at plants in the garden centre or whatever, consider those factors. Consider when they flower, what colour they are, if they're scented or not, and obviously organic. These are my top pollinator friendly plants that I grow in my garden that I know the bees and butterflies. And don't forget, just because I say pollinators, we often overlook things like the spiders and the beetles that are really important in your garden. So I really feel like my garden is a wildlife haven for all kinds of insects and pollinators, and they all have their own advantages for attracting them into the garden. And also they're just really wonderful for children to be able to see all this life in your garden and to be able to cherish and understand how important these insects are. So here are my top pollinator friendly plants. So we'll just start with the one that everybody knows, and that is the buddleia. The buddleia in my garden absolutely attracts not only bees but also a wide variety of bees and a fairly large variety of butterflies, because what we want in a pollinator garden is not just one type of bee or one type of butterfly. We want to encourage all types. So I have actually, to the point where I have so many different types of bees in my garden. I probably need at this point to get an expert in to tell me what all these bees are, because they're definitely not the same bees, and that's because I have a wide variety of pollinating plants that have attracted all sorts of bees into the garden. Number 2, this might surprise you, and I'm going to do a separate video on this plant because it's absolutely magical, and that is oregano. Now, you may not think of oregano, you think of it as just something you put on your pizza, or some people like those oregano flavoured crisps. Ugh, I'm definitely not one of those people. But oregano in the garden, I love. It's absolutely amazing. It attracts all sorts of bees. It's covered in bees when it flowers, and it even attracts these little orange, I don't know whether they're moths or butterflies, but they also love oregano. So that is my second best pollinating plant. To be honest, it could be even my top because it is covered in bees. I can't tell you how much it is covered in bees. It's also a really easy plant to grow. Number 3, alliums, especially those little alliums that you have the little bells on. I've lost my footage of all the bees that love that little allium that has the dangly bells. The bees love it. They love alliums. And of course, alliums are just really easy to grow. You just plant the bulbs in autumn, and over time they self-seed as well. And before you know it, you have a garden full of these wonderful pollinators. Now, number 4 is my favourite. Another one of my favourites is greater knapweed. Now, greater knapweed is a variety of the knapweed that you will see growing in meadows and hedgerows, etc. in the wild. So it doesn't take a rocket scientist to know that if it's growing wild, then it probably is going to be benefiting nature in some way. So if we grow our own variety of it, greater knapweed, then obviously attracts bees. It is a native British wildflower, but I'm sure knapweed is native to a lot of countries. The next one is the bees love the foxgloves. The bees in particular, because the butterflies obviously can't get into those bells, but the bees love climbing into those bells and getting in there and getting a little bit all drunk on all the nectar in there. So that is and they're also easy to grow, and of course they self-seed. So once you have the foxgloves in your garden, they will continue to grow and feed and the pollinators and attract the pollinators into your garden. Let's talk about sweet peas. So the bees love sweet peas. Obviously the fragrance and those beautiful bright colours attract pollinators into your garden, and they're really easy to grow. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise. I have a video, a masterclass on how to grow sweet peas. They are ultra easy to grow, and I'll link that below. Now, continuing on with our highly scented plants, honeysuckle, of course, is a fantastic pollinator in woodland and hedgerows. So it rambles up fences and obviously at the back of your garden, adding extra height. And up there you will see when it flowers, not only is it a beautiful perfume heady scent in the evenings, but that also attracts the moths and the bees, etc., in particular to your garden. Conversely, one that flowers later in the year is Verbena bonasaris, which I always say wrong. I always say bonasariensis. Another tall one. It has like small flower heads that are a little bit like buddleia. They're probably the same family, I'm sure. And for that reason, the bees and the butterflies love the verbena. You can grow it at the back of hedgerows. It self-seeds. It's drought tolerant, so it will look after itself. It may come back a couple of years in a row, but then it tends to die out and self-seed somewhere else in the garden. But it's a great pollinator. The bees absolutely, and the butterflies love it. Well, I could go on, but as I say, if you apply those same principles that I mentioned in the beginning of the video about the colours, the scent, the long flowering period, and make sure you avoid plants that are sterile, such as hydrangea is a sterile plant, then you should the main thing, I think, is to go organic. I can't stress that highly enough. To get the pollinators into your garden, the most important thing is to be an organic garden. Anyway, I do hope you found this video helpful, and I hope you will be encouraged to grow an organic garden, not discouraged. And yeah, if you were, don't forget to subscribe, and I'll see you again in my next video. Thanks for watching. Bye.